All right, how's everybody doing this evening? So first, let's talk about a little bit of what this video is and kind of the channel for those of you that are still new. So this channel is my personal kind of documentation of what's going on in the market and my opinions on it at any one period of time. These are not financial opinions or reasons why you shouldn't get invested in the market, just my personal opinions. So let's get right into it with SPY last week breaking out, getting up to, on my screen, what appears to be all-time highs, but if I look at the SP 500, we're actually still a little bit off. Some brokerages are showing this discrepancy and some are not, so just make sure that you're clear on where that all-time high is. But back to SPY, you can see breaking out on strong volume, actually ending the week on 3 of the strongest volume days we've had in the last couple of months. So it'll be curious to see what happens with that, whether or not we continue or not now that the economic data from last week is out of the way. Moving over to QQQ, you have a very similar story, except here we are out to all-time highs with tech leading the market lately. It makes sense that QQQ is pushing a little bit further ahead than SPY. Moving right along into IWM, now testing the top of the range. I read an interesting piece of information I guess I should have known. The Russell 2000 market cap is 2.2 trillion total for every company in it, and that is less than the market cap of Apple. So when you talk about power and ability to move quickly, this certainly has it, just because of how little investment it takes to really get this thing going on an institutional level. You can see here the volume starting to pick up, and obviously rapid increase in price off that lower bound. Moving along again into XLV, this is something I will be watching into this week, as well as gold. Just super long consolidations. With the market approaching all-time highs and a consolidation like this building out in healthcare, it makes me want to look into some healthcare names to see if there might be any opportunity. If the market does want to drive higher into the end of the year, I think looking for some of those other sectors that maybe have been underperforming, seeing them catch up would be a good sign for the whole market, and then also a good opportunity, in my opinion. Moving along into the past performance from last week, stocks that did well. We had Carvana on the newsletter. You can see on the weekly breaking out. Let's get to the daily. Breaking out of this miniature consolidation that it had, moving up about 27%. Now approaching the top of the range at 56, where it will quadruple top. We'll see what happens there. I'd like to see another set of consolidation days and then a break above, but who knows. We also had Tesla almost fake us out here on this low, but it ended up holding through Jerome Powell in the Fed meeting on Wednesday. So nice, and now breaking out to the upside. This is a super powerful setup. You have a weekly flag. That one could really get moving. So curious to see what happens there. Also last week was RIVN. Just keeping the lights on here. You've got a little consolidation above the pivot, and then towards the end of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just monster move. Did trade that with some contracts. Curious to see what happens. I'd like to see it get up to that 25 level before I get rid of that running position that I still have. But we'll see what happens there. I wouldn't be surprised if it needs consolidation before continuing, but regardless, monster move off that base break. Looking ahead to next week, some of our larger stocks are still looking good. So Meta kind of bidding up into this resistance zone for around 338 to 345. It kind of tracks back to the end of November. I was looking at this earlier, and I'm a little surprised that Meta has not approached all-time highs yet, considering the performance of some of the other stocks and the performance of the index at this point. That kind of surprised me, but then I guess I remembered how oversold it was, so maybe it'll just take some time. But on the weekly, I think this is a phenomenal look. On the daily with moving averages, you also have a similarly phenomenal look. Just tight moving averages, all moving congruently upwards with price. You have a couple of long wick rejections on the daily, but in my opinion, if we can continue to tighten up here, you have a nice cushion on the moving averages, and there's no reason why that doesn't continue upwards. But again, just my opinion. Let's see, MDB starting to make a move off that. So it traded above that pivot and then pulled back in after earnings, snapped right back around, and is now heading back upwards. This is an AI play. You had a huge weekly kind of flag set up here like this. It came in, retested it, and then now we're heading back up and off that. So I think this, coupled with the fact that it's a fundamentally sound business, is cause for paying attention to it, and it's one that I'm going to keep on my watch list moving forward. IoT upcoming. This one I'm a little less, I'm a little bit more weary about this, just because IoT has been a real dog to trade over the last year or so. I mean, you just have extremely difficult entry points. You have very broken price action through the consolidation periods. I mean, a lot of people were calling this a flag or like some kind of breakout, but you have these engulfing days, inside days, on light volume, makes it very difficult to trade. So I'm not going to hold my breath on this one. If it sets up a perfect setup where I can see a clean risk to reward, I'll take it. But at the current moment, I have no reason to really look into it. All I know is the breakout on the weekly is powerful, and I'd like to see what happens with it. Moving on to SIM, one of the cleaner looking 3 weeks tight setups, right at the top of the range. The only caveat to this one is the valuation. It is quite overvalued at this point in time. It's going to need, I think, in the ballpark of 5 years of hyper growth in revenue to make even a dent on the valuation that it currently has. But from a technical standpoint, no complaints there. I will be paying close attention to it. Again, if I can find a clean risk reward entry where I'm really not having to worry too much about the valuation and maybe institutional sellers coming in because of that fact, I'd like to maybe initiate a position here. Last but not least for the list this week is, I forgot. Oh no. Oh, MNDY. I'm so stupid. Okay, so cracked above the pivot at 186. Now starting a little baby consolidation inside day above it. I think if that builds out, no reason why this doesn't run as well. We've seen so many stocks, have this similar look where, yep, there was some euphoria back in 2020, 2021. That cooled off. A couple of years of consolidation along the lows, where you basically just have weeklies and monthlies that all look similar to this, and now things are starting to move out of their bases. I don't know a ton about MNDY as a business. I do know a couple of people whose companies use them and their services and speak highly of it. So for long-term investment, I don't really have much. But from a technical standpoint, I like that pop over the pivot. I'd like to see it hold that, consolidate, and then continue its move upwards. Looks like we're at about 8 minutes 40 on the clock. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes. So that's going to do it for this week. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like. If you want to read more or see more of my content, you can follow me on Twitter at Tanner's Trades, or you can follow me on Substack, which is either in the bio of my Twitter or it's just Tanner Yarton on Substack. It's called Charts, Trades, and Analysis by Tanner Yarton. But yeah, so looking forward to seeing you guys again. If you want to see anything in specific, leave a comment. But I think that's going to do it for today, and have a good week.